Episode 40. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. We have been speaking of Sthita Prajna, or a true master. Here Lord Buddha says, a man is not born to mastery. A man is never proud. And so the master who has realized truth is never proud. He does not talk down to others. He owns nothing. He misses nothing. He is not afraid. There is no fear in him. He does not tremble like Arjuna. Nothing binds him like to the worldlies. He is infinitely free. So, cut through the strap and the thong and the rope, the sansar. Loosen the fastenings. Unbolt the doors of sleep and awake. The master endures insults and ill treatments, as was endured by Mira, without reacting, for his spirit is an army. He is never angry. He keeps his promises. He never strays. He is determined. This body is my last, he says. Like water on the leaf of a lotus flower or a mustard seed on the point of a needle, he does not cling to anything. For he has reached the end of sorrow and has laid down his burden. He looks deeply into things and sees their nature. He discriminates between right and wrong. He reaches the end of the way. He does not linger with those who have a home, nor with those who stray. Wanting nothing, he travels on alone. He hurts nothing, he never kills. He moves with love among the unloving, with peace and detachment. Among the hungry and querulous, like a mustard seed from the point of a needle, hatred has fallen from him, and lust, hypocrisy, and pride has no place in his heart. He offends no one, yet he speaks the truth. His words are clear, but never harsh. Whatever is not his, he refuses, good or bad, great or small. He wants nothing from the world and nothing from the next world or heaven. He is totally free. Desiring nothing, doubting nothing, beyond judgment and sorrow, and the pleasures of the senses, he has moved beyond time. He is pure and free. How clear he is! He is the moon. He is serene. He shines. For he has travelled life after life, the muddy and treacherous road of illusion. He does not tremble or grasp or hesitate. He has found peace. Calmly he lets go of life, sansar. He lets go of home and pleasure and desires. Nothing of man can hold him. Nothing of the gods can hold him. Nothing in all creation can hold him. Desire has left him, never to return. Sorrow has left him, never to return. He is calm. In him the seed of renewing life has been consumed. He has conquered all the inner worlds and all the desires. With dispassionate eye, he sees everywhere the falling and the uprising like the waves of the ocean. And with great gladness, he knows that he has finished the task of a human life. He has woken from his deep sleep of ignorance, lust, and greed. And the way he has taken is hidden from ordinary men, even from spirits and gods. The way is hidden, but by the virtue of his purity, he has found the end. In him there is no yesterday, no tomorrow, no today. Possessing nothing, wanting nothing, he is full of power, fearless, wise, exalted. He has vanquished all things. He sees by virtue of his purity. He has come to the end of the way. Over the river of his many lives, his many deaths. Beyond the sorrow of hell, beyond the great joy of heaven, by virtue of his purity, he has come to the end of the way. He has come to the Brahma Nirvanam. All that he had to do, he has done. And now he is one with the universal God. This message then has summed up much better than I can do when we are talking about Sthita Prajna. We have been struggling to pass on the deep meaning of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and we will now try to summarize what the second chapter, Sankhya Yoga, has taught us about the wisdom, as we have talked before. And in doing so, we will be completing the first phase, the foremost phase of trying to remove our ignorance by being able to distinguish between right and wrong, which is what this chapter 2 is presenting to us. In reviewing chapter 2, we will go over the topics, the primary topics that Lord has pointed out to us. Here we have illusion of ourself, we have doubts, we suffer, and yet we are being Atman. We need to know who we really are. And if we know who we really are, we would have very little problem. Problems are primarily of ignorance. And ignorance can be removed by knowledge. So the title of the chapter is The Yoga of Knowledge, Sankhya Yoga. The first topic, slok 2 and 3, for those who have the Srimad Bhagavad Gita with them, I am not necessarily going to go through repeating the sloks. I may touch upon the necessary words in order to tie these jewels into a necklace. In the first and in the second and third slok, Sri Krishna Bhagavan admonishes Arjuna, who refuses to get up to fight because of his attachment to his relatives. He has been crying. shivering, he is depressed, and he has requested God to help him. Shri Krishna Bhagavan, admonishing him, tells him to get up, not to be coward, not to be helpless, not to act like an important man, but get up as a Kshatriya, that it is your duty to fight. It is your duty to fight Duryodhana, who represents vices. It is our duty as a human being to fight the vices within us. Arjuna, of course, like us, continues from slok 4 through slok 9, slok 8. He refuses to get up, but he is realizing his difficulties and his confusion. So while he has surrendered apparently, and that is the most important part of this passage, where he says, I surrender to you, Lord. You are my real teacher, Sadguru. You please lead me out of my confusion, and you are the only one who can help me. Please hold my finger and show me the path. So in that passage, the 4 sloks, he not only continues to argue, but he also requests again and again, because of his good sanskar, that please lead me out of this confusion. Then the turning point begins from slok 9 on, when Shri Krishna Bhagavan, now that Arjuna has kept quiet, unless we keep quiet we cannot listen. And Arjuna is now even tired arguing. Someday we hope we will get tired of suffering and our defense of our ignorance, and we will then listen to the viewpoint of Shri Krishna Bhagavan or the saints that have been talking to us. The turning point comes when Shri Krishna Bhagavan says that all that you are talking about is ignorance. You know nothing about real spirituality or real dharma. Your very behavior tells me that you are not even a Kshatriya, not to talk about religion. So Shri Krishna Bhagavan then teaches him the difference or the discrimination between the body and the Atman or the soul that is residing within us. We call it Atman. So from slok 12 to 30 then, he is describing the difference between the body and the mind, intellect, which is a physical entity we have, as we have said, that this Atman is covered with these layers, superimposition as we call, superimposition of ignorance, one after the other. We have several layers of ignorance, and that is what he is teaching us. And then he is also telling that we are really immortal. As God we are immortal, but as physical entity we have to suffer and we have to go through the changes of birth, growth, decay and death. God has made this world such a way, and He alone knows, that anything that is born must die, must go through the changes. The whole world is going through the changes. We must accept these realities. One of our problems is we don't want to accept the reality that we are born and we will be dying, or that we have to go through the changes of old age and we have to suffer. These are the waves in the ocean that we have to learn to balance our boat and not allow it to sink. The wise people do that. They know how to navigate their life over the waves of life. Sometimes we are happy, sometimes unhappy, sometimes unexpected. Things come down, like collapsing of our stock market, the bubble. These are the things that we ought to have expected out of our greed. This is nothing new. It has happened, but we forget. We have blessed God, try to remind again and again, because we forget again and again that greed, these objects of desires, causes our mind to split, and so we cannot think right, we cannot concentrate, we can not reason. Whatever we want, we will always justify, because that is our goal. But the saints like Meera justify her love for God and nothing else counts. To the worldly, it's other way around. God doesn't count, the truth doesn't count, he counts at any cost. At any system, as we are saying, we will listen to them, but we will not listen to the saint. So these are some of the difficulties, but someday we will come to sense. Some of us do want to at least know now that we have realized the suffering again and again, and that is what Sri Krishna Bhagavan is trying to tell us, that we should be going after the real peace, real joy and real bliss, rather than this delusive peace, delusive joy and delusive love, what we call the love of the body. After then explaining to us the difference between the body and the soul, which I am sure most of us haven't yet recognized, except theoretically we have heard, because that requires a lot of purity and performance, as we will be coming in the next chapter. But continuing this second chapter, which is of course pretty long, 72 sloks, that's one of the longest. Then after talking about Atma and body and its distinction, Sri Krishna Bhagavan in slok 31 to 37 takes the attitude of Arjun, because Arjun cannot understand philosophy. He is so attached to his relatives that at the moment he can't see anything else but his Bhishma Pitama and his Guru and his relatives. So his mind is blocked. He is almost blind. Everything is darkness in his wisdom. And so Lord says, well, he comes to his level and he tries to explain to him that even as a human being, even as a Kshatriya, it is your duty to understand spirituality. You have defeated a lot of enemies. That time you never had a problem about discrimination, who is right and wrong. You always thought that the enemy must be destroyed. Right now we have one of the worst enemy in front of you, the Duryodhana, and yet you cannot see that. That's because you think he is your relative. So among relatives we don't see the truth. We don't like to see the difference between right and wrong. Relatives means they must be right, irrespective of their vices and virtues. This then causes us to lose the discrimination of right and wrong. Every country thinks they are right, every religion thinks they are right, all the people think they are right because they are attached to their own beliefs, and therefore they don't want to listen anything else. Same problem is with Arjuna. This is not new, this has been there always, this has been here today also. No country, no political system, no educational system wants to agree that they could be wrong, that they need to change the direction, that they have to be honest, because we want to continue to defend ourselves and our ignorance, like Arjuna is defending his ignorance right now. But Lord is trying his best to come down to his level, that you are a Kshatriya, it is a righteous war, it is righteous to destroy the evil, not the evil people, but the evil. We have destroyed evil people, but we have not destroyed evil. If we can think of Second World War, 6 million Jews were destroyed just because they were Jews. This is what we have been taught. One religion against the other. And in many wars, in the war of Mahabharata, we know that about 4 million people were destroyed, where the population was not even that large as it is in India today. So time and again we have destroyed, massacred, we have done this thing, and we have never got rid of this anger, this jealousy, superiority complex, thinking that we are right and others should be converted or changed by hook or crook, by force. And this thing is what we need to destroy and bring love among us and understanding that we are all children of the same God. This we are not doing, so we are continuing our problem. Sri Krishna is trying to tell us that our real duty is to destroy these evil propensities we have rather than the people. This is continuing even today. Now Sri Krishna Bhagavan somehow is trying to arouse Arjuna to his greatness, just like he is trying to arouse us, because we as human beings are great. Great not because we have the body, not because we have degrees from Berkeley and Stanfords, not because we have earned millions and millions, but because God is within us, and God is within every one of us. and therefore everyone is great. Only if we can distinguish between body and what our real self is, which is God or truth or eternal life. So, one way or the other, in one form or the other, in one word or the other, time and again, repeatedly, Sri Krishna Bhagavan is trying to arouse Arjuna to his greatness as a Kshatriya, to fight this war which is just because we must always destroy evil. We are not talking about any particular people or country. We want to just make sure that we destroy the evil propensities of mankind which is within each one of us. And that is the real purpose of Gita, which has been taught to Arjuna in the name of fighting this war, physical war. One beautiful thing Sri Krishna says that if we will try to fight the vices within us, there is no loss. If we win, we will be happy here because we would have overcome the vices. And if we don't, supposing, and if we have problem, even then God will help us to advance to a state, and gradually we will be progressing towards our immortality, which is our goal. So in this path there is no loss. There is nothing in this world in which we can be assured that there is no loss. As a matter of fact, all our gain is a total loss because we are losing our life and we are gaining nothing except ashes when we will die. That is all we will have if we only count on the worldly achievements. So again, Lord is trying to give us some eternal values, what we call khajana or wealth, real wealth that nobody can take away in future. And that is what he says. And in saying so, he has concluded one aspect of this teaching of second chapter, that learn to know the difference between Sat and Asat, right and wrong, body and Atman, vices and virtues, true religion and vidhi or vidhi religion is rituals. Know the difference between ritualistic religion and true religion, which is spirituality. Thus then he is trying to distinguish or help us to distinguish between what is really good and what is not our good. What we think it is our good is not our good. What we think is not our good is our good. This is one of the message of these slokas that we are learning about. Next he turns into the story of Mahabharata and is teaching us through Karma Yoga that the theory cannot be grasped unless we put in practice. So he then talks about Karma Yoga where we must perform efficiently. Whatever job is assigned to us, we must focus our mind totally on it and keeping God in mind that I am assigned this job by God and I am going to get reward from God provided I follow His laws and do my best in any job that is assigned to me. One of the beautiful things is that the type of work is not important whether you are a president of a country or whether you are a janitor. In the eyes of God, both are same if they perform their task as if they are commissioned by God, that they are working for God, and then they will follow these laws that God has provided us. So that is beautiful. That means we don't need to change jobs. I have been asked time and time again that if I don't like this particular job, what harm is there in changing the job? These are some of the problems. It is not easy to change job. It is not easy to be efficient in a new job. You already have by nature some training from past life, present life. So if we can just use our training, our expertise, then I think that life will be easy. God does not require you to change your job or profession. So why are we making our life more difficult? So the wise person does not want to change what his nature is, but perform his duties best to his ability, whether it's man or a woman or whether it's whatever the job that has come to us. But we are confused, and Lord talks about Yam Imam Pushpitam Vacham, slok 42 to 44, in which he talks about the ritualistic dharma, these ritualistic gurus are teaching us that there is heaven and there is hell and all these things that they have created and confusing the people. So Lord has brought out that you should go beyond that. In the slok 45, he says, Trigunya Vishaya Veda Nistrigunya Bhava Arjuna. Go beyond this ritualistic dharma that consists of three gunas or Prakriti or Maya and become an Atmavan. Go beyond this earning and hoarding and all these things because that will not help you. Mati chun chun mahal banaya, murak kahe ghar mera. The fools build their temples and their homes and the forts and the palaces, but that is all dust, and we think that we own it, but we own nothing after except our Atman. So all these things he explained in slok 45, and once we have realized it, nothing matters. As in slok 46, when water is all around, we don't need to go to a well. Having said that, Lord says that we have a right to perform the works and not the fruits. In other words, keep your mind in performance. Don't pay attention to the ultimate result because the result will be good if you pay attention and do it efficiently. The task in front of you. Don't think about the next task or the task that is gone, but pay attention to the present moment and present task. This is a very important thing. Having explained that, he asks us to be balanced in whatever the results come. God says, I will give you the positive, no matter what the result is about your karma. So we should not be worried about whether we will succeed or not succeed. We are going to succeed irrespective of it if we just focus and do our best. We don't do this with our children. We have to have them A grade rather than telling what they can do. Instead of stealing in the exams, as sometimes the students do in order to get A grade. They should rather do what they can do the best as long as they are focusing and paying attention to their studies. Unfortunately, we don't do that also. So what Lord expects is that we just focus and do our best. And whatever we do is then acceptable to Lord. These are some of the things we are not taught in our own life, in our universities, in our house. The parents are ignorant. They insist on things. They expect things we cannot perform. And when we fail, then we are depressed and we complain. And we create friction even within the family, between parents and the students or children. Same thing is also in factories and everywhere else. We are so unrealistic. Saints are very realistic. Having said this about Karma Yoga, and we'll be talking more about in the third chapter, Sri Krishna then moves on to summarize what he has talked. And Arjuna asks that I really love what you have been teaching, but I do need an idol. I need somebody to follow. And then he's giving an example of Sthita Prajna. He's describing the wise man or the wisdom, and that is what follows from slok 55 up to the end, what we call Sthita Prajna, or a master or a saint, or really a wise man or a wise woman. And these are then the last 18 sloks we have been just talking in the last few episodes, and we have just read about what Lord Buddha has talked about. A wise man is exactly the same as the Sthita Prajna. We don't need to repeat that. We can go back to the episode 39, which will then tell us, and few episodes before what we have been talking now will tell you what we have been saying about Sthita Prajna or the wisdom. Thus he concludes this, giving us the wisdom that what is self-realization, Brahma Nirvanam, which we just talked few minutes ago. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat.